How's it going, guys? It's Poetry Son, and welcome to another quick guide in Rights of Man for EU4. This is a little guide that we're going to be doing on the Great Powers mechanics and how to use them and what they mean. So anyways, let's go ahead and hop in here. It doesn't really matter what nation we play as, but just for fun, let's go as France because they are a great power. Who's the first one in the world? I don't remember actually, but it doesn't matter. But anyways, I think it's Ming, but it might be Ottoman. I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah, we're going to go ahead and look at some of the great power mechanics because it's been a new feature in Rights of Man that I found very interesting and something that I think I could probably expand on for those of you who don't know or want to maybe learn the basics before hopping in yourself, or if, whatever. We're second. Anyway, so this was added in with Rights of Man, a couple days ago when the expansion came out, and it's very interesting. It reminds me of something, it reminds me of something straight out of Vicky 2, which I think is like kind of one of the things. It is kind of like reminiscent of that. Anyway, so yeah, so you access the Great Powers button right here with this button. And when you do this, this shows you the Great Powers. There's 8 Great Powers, and being a Great Power gives you some abilities that we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, here's the Great Powers of the world. And as you might notice, everyone is basically like these numbers are mostly all the same except for the Timurids. And the reason why is because basically it takes your development, right? So it takes the person with the highest development is going to be first, except it modifies it by the institutions you do not have embraced. So essentially, the Ottomans do not have their they do not have feudalism embraced, so they are getting 50% less score out of this. Or it's being multiplied or divided by 150. Well, no, that's not correct. You know what I mean? It's it's being modified as a penalty. I don't know how to explain that. But anyways, yeah. So as you can see, everyone else though, no one else has these penalties because the Renaissance hasn't started yet. Only feudalism has not been embraced by the Timurids because they're a horde nation. So this means, though, that once the Renaissance and other institutions start, Ming will not be getting the Renaissance right away, so their score will start decreasing, whereas ours, hopefully, we would be able to get the Renaissance fairly early on, and we would stay near the top because our numbers would be modified as much. So this is a really interesting way to look at things. So it actually makes development, like internal development, that much better. It was already not bad. It's still probably easier to conquer new development, but it's still a viable option to develop your own country, go tall per se, and still be a great power possibly. Although I think you might have to conquer a little bit. I don't think you could build up one province and be a world power. That might just actually be impossible. But that, I don't know, that kind of makes sense. One province could not really be one of the top 8 powers in the world, realistically. Come on now. But anyway, so yeah, so that's a very interesting mechanic, and being a great power, which we are, allows you to have some really cool options. These great power actions, there's 4 of them, and it's not a huge amount of options, but they all are fairly interesting. For one, you can take on foreign debt. This is useful for small countries that you might be able to vassalize, like in our case, like Navarra. If they had any debt, we could pay off however much debt they have, and because of that, we would get an opinion boost with them. So it's good to do that if you're trying to vassalize someone, and you don't feel like waiting or anything, or you don't have enough, opinion modifiers to put you over the edge. Just, pay off their debt. You could also influence them, which actually gives them monarch points. 1 a month for the next 10 years in their weakest monarch power category. And it also gives you opinion, plus you have to spend some money. So that's a little more expensive in most cases probably than taking on foreign debt, and it also costs monarch points, mana points. So if you are, if you have extra, then it might be a good idea. But another way to get opinion. And these last 2 are the really interesting ones. So the intervene in war thing is really cool. Basically what that does is, if there's ever a war that has more than 3 great power nations, 3 or more rather, you can use this. And the only other criteria really is that one side is weaker than the other. So in other words, you have to have, and by weaker, I don't mean actually weaker, I mean in terms of the number of great powers. So essentially, let's say that Austria is a great power. I don't think they start as one, but let's say they're a great power, Poland's a great power, Ottoman's a great power. The Austrians and the Polish could ally together and attack the Ottomans, right? And that is not too out of the ordinary to see something like that. However, we, as France, if we wanted to, we could actually intervene on the side of the Ottomans because they're one great power against two. And I actually haven't seen any ones that have had 5, but I'm assuming you can do the same. If there's 2 great powers on one side and 3 on another, yet you can intervene. And it's really interesting in that there's no limiters. You can intervene on the side of one of your rivals. You can intervene, I believe, even if you have a truce with them. I'm not sure about that one, so don't count me on that one. But I know I've seen it in with the rivals. You can even protect your rivals if you want. So it's really interesting. It's fairly flexible, and that's really cool. And this last option here is when there's someone small, like Navarre, if they had an alliance, you can actually break their alliance. And let's go, tell you what, let's just go ahead and maybe let like a month or 2 pass till they get an alliance, right? Okay, so they got an alliance. That's all I really wanted. This is all I really wanted to show. So if we make them break their alliance, right now they would actually accept. Part of this is because of the relative strength of alliances. Part of this is because of our diplomatic reputation. If you have a CB on Castile, if we have a CB on the person we're the target alliance breakage, you know, then it'll also give you some bonuses or take away those penalties. But yeah, relative strength of alliance, it is possible to do it. I found that it's kind of hard, but it is possible to do this, and that's really cool. Because watch, look at that. We forced the Lesser Nation of Navarre to break their alliance with Castile, so that'll upset them both. But yeah, so like I could see this, you know, I could see this being really cool in a game as France, because what, you know, always Castile, Aragon, and France always fight over who's going to be the overlord of Navarre. If you break their alliances, then there's no way they can get it. So then you have all the time in the world to ally Navarre yourself. So you see, there's some really cool uses for it. But anyways, those are all the main features. There is one other thing I'd like to mention, and that is, if you are the second ranked great power, you get automatically 22 power projection, as you can see right there. First actually gets 25, and I actually don't remember the other numbers, but I'm assuming it looks like, well, it went down by 3 from first to second, so maybe it's just a scale of 3. I actually need to check that. Sorry for not having that. Maybe I'll put it in the video as an annotation. But anyways, yeah, so it goes, so, you know, it's like 25 power projection guaranteed when you're the first power in the world. That means that that's like a free general, basically, that you have permanently, as long as you stay first. And if you're second, you don't have much to go, and you could probably have that permanently. So yeah, it actually gives you power projection too, so there's another tangible benefit as well, besides all the other stuff we've talked about. Plus, it's just kind of a cool way to see who's the most powerful country in the world when it takes into consideration tech and all total development. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this guide. This was a little bit shorter than our last guide, the Institutions guide. If you want to check that out, feel free to do so. I try to explain some of the Institutions mechanics, and they do play a role in figuring out what your score is. So if you want to learn about that, go check out that guide. I'll possibly probably leave a link to that as well. So thank you guys for watching, though. I hope you guys have been enjoying Rights of Man. I know I have, and I will see you guys soon with another video or maybe some other guides. So until then, goodbye.